In the summer of 1994, a tourist on a reef flat in Queensland, Australia, picked up a small, beautifully patterned shell from the sandy bottom. It was cone-shaped, no longer than his palm, decorated with intricate brown and white markings that looked almost painted. He carried it for several minutes, turning it over in his hand, admiring it the way anyone would admire something that looked that beautiful. By the time he felt the sting, the venom was already moving through his bloodstream. He died before reaching the hospital. He never saw the animal attack. He never saw it move. The shell simply waited. 3 animals in the ocean share this exact philosophy. They are among the most venomous creatures on Earth, and not one of them has ever needed to chase anything. Their prey comes to them, and it always has. We have always assumed that the deadliest predators are the fastest ones. The shark, the barracuda. The predator that sees something and goes after it with everything it has. That assumption is wrong, and the ocean has been proving it wrong for hundreds of millions of years. Speed costs energy. Energy has to come from somewhere. And in an ocean where food is unpredictable and distances are enormous, an animal that burns through calories chasing prey that might escape is playing a losing game. The smarter strategy is to become something that prey approaches voluntarily, drawn in by beauty, curiosity, or hunger, and to make sure that approach is the last mistake they ever make. 3 animals figured this out independently of each other. They share no common ancestor. They came from completely different branches of life. And yet, they all built the same weapon. There are more than 700 species of cone snail distributed across the tropical and subtropical oceans of the world, and every single one of them is venomous. They range in size from less than an inch to nearly 9 inches long. Their shells are among the most visually striking objects in the natural world, decorated with geometric patterns of brown, white, orange, and gold that have made them prized by collectors for centuries. Rare specimens have sold at auction for thousands of dollars. People have worn them as jewelry, displayed them on shelves, and carried them in their pockets. A significant number of those people had no idea the animal inside was still alive. The cone snail moves slowly, even by the standards of snails. It cannot outrun anything. It cannot overpower anything through physical force. What it has instead is one of the most sophisticated venom delivery systems ever evolved by any animal on Earth. A system so precise and so fast that a fish hovering within range has no realistic chance of escape once the snail has decided to act. The delivery mechanism is called the radula tooth. In most mollusks, the radula is a rough, ribbon-like structure used for scraping food. In the cone snail, evolution took that structure and rebuilt it entirely into something that functions more like a harpoon than a tooth. The tooth is hollow, barbed, and connected by a flexible ligament to a muscular venom bulb that operates like a biological syringe. The snail stores multiple teeth in a specialized sac inside its body, loading a fresh one each time it hunts. When prey comes within range, the snail extends a proboscis that can reach in virtually any direction, including directly backward along its own shell, and fires. The entire strike takes milliseconds. The tooth embeds in the prey, the barb locks it in place, and the venom bulb contracts, forcing the toxin through the hollow tooth and directly into the target's tissue. The venom itself is where the cone snail becomes genuinely extraordinary. Each species produces its own unique cocktail of peptides called conotoxins, and across all 700 species, researchers estimate there may be more than 100,000 distinct bioactive compounds waiting to be fully cataloged. A single species can carry up to 200 pharmacologically active components in its venom at any one time. What makes conotoxins remarkable beyond their lethality is their precision. Each individual peptide is engineered by evolution to target one specific subtype of ion channel or receptor in the nervous system. Not the nervous system generally, but one channel, one receptor, with a specificity that synthetic pharmaceuticals have spent decades trying and largely failing to replicate. The fish hunting species are the most dangerous to humans because the human nervous system is structurally closer to a fish's nervous system than it is to a worm's. The geography cone, Conus geographus, is considered the most lethal of all. Its venom operates in two coordinated phases that researchers have named the lightning strike cabal and the motor cabal. The first phase delivers an immediate localized paralysis at the injection site, preventing the fish from thrashing. The second phase moves systemically through the body, blocking neuromuscular transmission at multiple points simultaneously, collapsing the fish's entire motor system within seconds. There is no antivenom for cone snail envenomation. There has never been one, because the sheer diversity of compounds across species makes a universal treatment effectively impossible to develop. Medical care consists of keeping the patient alive while the toxins metabolize out of the body, which can take hours. In documented human fatalities, that window has sometimes been measured in minutes. Approximately 36 human deaths from cone snail stings have been recorded over the past 3 centuries, almost all of them from people who picked up a live shell out of curiosity. The geography cone has been responsible for the majority of those deaths. The species has acquired a gallows humor nickname among marine biologists, the cigarette snail, a reference to the implication that a stung victim would have only enough time to smoke one cigarette before the toxin finished its work. And yet, the same venom that kills a person in under an hour is now saving lives in hospital wards around the world. A compound derived from the venom of Conus magus, the magician cone snail, was approved by the United States Food and Drug Administration in 2004 under the name Prialt. It is used for the management of severe chronic pain in patients for whom every other treatment has failed, and it is estimated to be up to 10,000 times more potent than morphine, without morphine's addictive properties. Additional conotoxin compounds are currently in clinical trials targeting Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's disease, epilepsy, and cardiovascular conditions. The animal that kills you and the animal that saves you are the same animal. It just depends entirely on whether you picked it up. The cone snail, at least, has the decency to be recognizable as a predator once you know what to look for. The next animal offers no such clarity. It is small, beautiful, and moves so slowly that almost everyone who encounters it in the wild makes the same mistake. They reach for it, and then, usually, they feel nothing at all, which is precisely the problem. The blue-ringed octopus fits comfortably in the palm of your hand. Its body, excluding tentacles, is roughly the size of a golf ball. It weighs less than 30 grams. It has no shell, no armor, no spines, and no physical defense of any kind beyond the ability to squeeze itself into crevices too narrow for larger predators to follow. In terms of raw physical presence, it is one of the least imposing animals on a coral reef. In terms of lethality relative to body size, it is arguably the most dangerous animal in the ocean. A single blue-ringed octopus carries enough venom to kill 26 adult humans. That figure has been repeated so many times that it risks losing its weight, so consider it directly. A single animal, small enough to sit in a coffee cup, contains sufficient toxin to kill an entire classroom of adults, with enough remaining to kill several more. The dose required to kill one adult human is approximately 0.5 milligram, an amount that fits on the head of a pin. There is no antivenom. There has never been one. The animal comes in 4 confirmed species, all belonging to the genus Hapalochlina, distributed across the Pacific and Indian Oceans from Japan to Australia. All 4 are immediately recognizable by the rings that give them their name, between 50 and 60 iridescent blue circles distributed across the body and tentacles, set against a background of pale yellow or brown. Under normal conditions, those rings are barely visible, and the animal looks dull, almost plain. But when the octopus feels threatened, something extraordinary happens. Specialized pigment cells called chromatophores contract and expand across the skin surface, and the rings light up in a vivid, pulsing iridescent blue that is visible from several meters away in clear water. The entire display activates in less than 0.4 seconds, making it one of the fastest color changes produced by any animal on Earth. That display is not aggression. The blue-ringed octopus is a docile animal by nature, and its first response to any threat is always to retreat. The ring display is a warning, a biological signal that has evolved specifically to communicate one message to anything watching: do not touch this animal. The problem is that the warning only works if the observer understands it. Humans, overwhelmingly, do not. The rings are beautiful, the animal is small and moves slowly, and people pick it up. The bite, when it comes, is nearly painless. Most victims describe it as no more uncomfortable than a mild pinch, a sensation so minor that many do not realize they have been bitten at all. The 2 puncture wounds left by the beak are small enough to be easily missed on casual inspection. This is perhaps the most dangerous characteristic the blue-ringed octopus possesses, not the raw potency of its venom, but the fact that envenomation announces itself with almost no physical sensation whatsoever. By the time symptoms begin, the toxin is already well distributed through the bloodstream. Those symptoms follow a precise and terrifying sequence. Muscle weakness begins within minutes, starting at the extremities and progressing inward toward the core. Nausea, vision disturbance, and loss of coordination follow in rapid succession. Then, the diaphragm stops working. The victim remains completely conscious and mentally aware throughout this entire process, able to think clearly and understand exactly what is happening, but entirely unable to move, speak, or signal for help. Death from respiratory failure can occur within 20 minutes of the bite. Survival depends entirely on someone nearby recognizing what has happened and beginning artificial respiration immediately, maintaining it manually until the toxin metabolizes out of the body, a process that can take up to 17 hours. The toxin responsible for all of this is tetrodotoxin, one of the most potent, naturally occurring neurotoxins known to science, reported to be more than 1,000 times more toxic than cyanide by weight. What makes tetrodotoxin biologically remarkable is that the blue-ringed octopus does not actually produce it. The toxin is synthesized by symbiotic bacteria living inside the octopus's salivary glands, at a bacteria that the animal cultivates and maintains throughout its body, the way a farmer cultivates a crop. Tetrodotoxin is distributed not just through the venom glands, but throughout the octopus's tissues entirely, which makes the animal simultaneously venomous and poisonous. Something that is both at once is extraordinarily rare in nature. It means that a lethal dose can theoretically be delivered not just through a bite, but through direct skin contact alone. The octopus did not evolve its toxin. It formed a partnership with something microscopic that already had it, and that partnership has made it one of the most untouchable animals in the ocean. It does not chase. It does not threaten. It sits in its crevice, pulses its rings when necessary, and waits for the situation to resolve itself. The situation always does. Both the cone snail and the blue-ringed octopus require at least some minimal participation from the animal itself. The snail fires a harpoon. The octopus bites when cornered. What comes next is the most passive of the three strategies, and in many ways, the most perfectly realized. The bearded fireworm does not sting anything. It simply waits to be touched, and the physics of contact does the rest entirely on its own. The bearded fireworm is the least famous of the three animals in this video, and that anonymity is almost certainly deliberate on the part of evolution. It does not have the cultural weight of the octopus. It does not carry the collector's mystique of the cone snail. It is a worm, segmented and slow, crawling across reef surfaces in the tropical Atlantic and the Mediterranean Sea, with the unhurried confidence of something that has never needed to worry about being touched. It has been crawling across reefs like this for more than 500 million years, surviving every mass extinction the planet has produced, outlasting the dinosaurs, outlasting entire ocean ecosystems that rose and collapsed around it, unchanged in any meaningful way because nothing about its strategy has ever needed to change. The body of a bearded fireworm is flat and segmented, divided into between 60 and 150 identical sections, each one separated from the next by a thin white line. Adults typically reach between 6 and 12 inches in length, though some individuals have been recorded at nearly 14 inches. The coloration shifts across the body in gradients of green, gold, yellow, and deep red, with a faint, pearlescent glow that catches available light and makes the animal look, in the right conditions, almost luminous. Running along both sides of every single segment are clusters of white bristles, fine and densely packed, that give the animal its common name. From a distance, they look soft, almost feathery, like something you might want to run a finger across. They are not. Each bristle is hollow, extremely fragile, and filled along its entire length with venom. They are not designed to be thrust into anything. They are designed to break. The moment any surface makes contact with them, the bristles shatter at the point of contact, driving their broken tips deep into whatever touched them, where they continue releasing venom directly into the surrounding tissue. The mechanism requires no muscle contraction, no deliberate strike, no decision from the animal at all. Contact alone triggers the entire sequence, which means the fireworm does not sting in any conventional sense. It simply exists, and the physics of contact does the rest. The venom chemistry produces an immediate and intense burning sensation at the contact site, a sensation severe enough that the animal's common name references it directly. The burning is followed by inflammation, swelling, intense itching, and in some cases, nausea and dizziness that can persist for several days. Removing the bristles is not straightforward. They are too fine and too deeply embedded to be pulled out cleanly by hand, and attempting to do so with bare fingers risks driving them deeper and transferring them to new contact points. The recommended removal method is to press adhesive tape firmly over the affected area and peel it away, extracting the bristles with it. Even with this method, residual fragments frequently remain in the skin, continuing to release venom until the tissue eventually expels them naturally. On the coral reef, the bearded fireworm is something considerably more significant than an inconvenience to careless divers. It is a voracious predator of living coral, moving slowly across reef surfaces and consuming both hard and soft coral tissue with strong, efficient jaws that strip the living polyps away from the calcium skeleton beneath. What remains after a fireworm feeding event is bare coral skeleton, fully exposed and vulnerable to algae overgrowth and secondary infection. Research has also identified the bearded fireworm as a winter reservoir and seasonal vector for Vibrio chaloi, a bacterial pathogen directly linked to coral bleaching events in the Atlantic and Mediterranean. The fireworm does not merely eat coral. In certain seasonal conditions, it actively transmits the disease that kills it. But it is the bristle mechanism that separates the bearded fireworm from every other venomous animal in this video, and arguably from most venomous animals anywhere in the ocean. The cone snail fires its harpoon. The blue-ringed octopus bites when cornered. Both of those require some minimal level of physical action from the predator. The bearded fireworm requires nothing at all. It has engineered a system in which the prey's own curiosity, its own movement towards something beautiful, completes the entire envenomation process without the worm contributing a single deliberate action. The prey does not get stung. The prey stings itself. The fireworm simply had the patience to be there when it happened, which is something it has been doing, without interruption, for 500 million years. 3 animals, 3 bodies built on entirely different blueprints, 3 oceans, 3 completely separate evolutionary histories that each arrived independently at the exact same conclusion about what it means to be a predator. That convergence is not a coincidence. It is an argument. And what it is arguing about the nature of survival in the ocean is worth sitting with carefully. A snail that has been refining its chemistry for 55 million years. An octopus that borrowed its weapon from bacteria and distributed it through every cell in its body. A worm that has survived 5 mass extinctions without meaningfully changing a single thing about itself. They share no common ancestor that explains their shared method. They arrived at the same conclusion through entirely separate journeys across hundreds of millions of years of evolutionary time. And the conclusion they all reached is identical. Do not chase. Do not exhaust yourself. Do not build a body around speed when you can build one around inevitability. Make yourself available to the thing that wants to approach you, and let chemistry do what muscle never could. The ocean is large, food is unpredictable, and energy spent chasing prey that escapes is energy that cannot be recovered. Patience costs almost nothing. Venom, once evolved, maintains itself. The strategy that looks passive from the outside is, from an engineering perspective, the most efficient predatory system the ocean has ever produced. We are only beginning to understand how much that system has to offer us beyond the reef. Conotoxin compounds derived from cone snail venom are already treating severe chronic pain in hospital wards around the world. Researchers studying tetrodotoxin from blue-ringed octopus bacteria are actively investigating its potential as a surgical anesthetic and as a treatment for certain debilitating neurological conditions. The bearded fireworm's own venom compounds remain almost entirely uncharacterized by modern science, a largely untouched library of biological chemistry sitting quietly on reef surfaces across the Caribbean and the Mediterranean, crawling across coral every night and waiting for someone to read what it contains. But those reefs are disappearing. Warming oceans, accelerating acidification, and increasingly severe bleaching events are collapsing the ecosystems these animals have inhabited for longer than our species has existed. What compounds remain undiscovered across 700 species of cone snail? What the bacteria living inside the blue-ringed octopus might still teach us about neurotoxicity and pain management? What the fireworm's bristle chemistry could one day offer medicine, we genuinely do not know. We may never get the chance to find out. And that is the question worth sitting with long after this video ends. If the ocean still has creatures like these waiting to be understood, there are dozens more where that came from. Subscribe so you do not miss the next one, and hit the like button if this video made you think twice about reaching for something beautiful underwater.